What's going on, guys?
What's up? The old beer commercials. What's up?
What's up?
All right. Well,
Government's turning the beer gay.
frog day. Damn frogs.
Yeah. That is a good conspiracy.
I do love it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Budweiser, there used to be Budweiser frogs.
They turned him gay.
Yeah, that could be their new marketing campaign instead of Dylan Mulvaney or whatever her name is. Come out with the gay Budweiser frogs. Ribbit.
Ribbit.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You're welcome, Budweiser.
They should just hire us for their marketing department.
Yeah, which they kind of pulled back from it.
Well, when you lose, like, what was it? 30 million or something?
More than I can ever comprehend.
Yeah.
No, because I know, like, one of my favorite new comedians is Shane Gillis.
Yeah.
And I think they actually added him to part of their marketing.
That was smart.
Yeah, because, like, he was strong with Bud Light throughout their whole controversy. Like, he never stopped being a big proponent or whatever for Bud Light, which is cool. He stood by his company he likes.
Yeah. It was just a terrible marketing idea because the most people that drink your beer are, like,
look like me.
Southern, right. They definitely don't have their pronouns in their profile.
Yeah. I mean, it probably would have been better if they would have put me in a dress and tried to sell it.
50,000 likes.
Yeah, I would have looked more trans than her.
God.
I would have.
Yeah, it was terrible.
You know, that's like...
Fit right in with the opening ceremony.
I would have. That's what I'm saying. Shave this off, put me in some khakis.
They
and
didn't
a
even do
button-up.
that for the opening ceremony.
What do you mean?
The Olympics.
Oh, yeah, that was a mess.
Giant bearded men with boobs.
Dresses on. Yeah, well, they already had the boobs.
Well, they just pushed them up with
Yeah,
a bra, right?
there you go. Yeah, they had a bra. Yeah, I could do wonders in a bra.
Look at a C cup right here.
Yeah, that's right. Working on a D. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, speaking of the Olympics, I've never really watched it. I seen there was like a breakdancing one, and
Really?
yeah, I guess there's a breakdancing now at the Olympics.
I read something they were going to get rid of boxing next time.
Well, I mean, after that dude beat up that chick, I wouldn't blame him.
There was two of them, wasn't there? There was a guy from some Asian country too that was.
Yeah, so I heard on one of them that, and this is something for sure. Anything and everything I say, do not quote me. Fact checking is just gonna start you off worse than you started. I promise. From the way I understand it, was one of them was actually technically a woman, but had some kind of issue when they were young, and just had more testosterone naturally.
Right. I think that was the. I can't remember what country it was, but it was the
bad one.
It was the one where where the girl from Italy tapped out in like 45 seconds. Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of like, I'm not saying it was just some kind of fluke with when she was growing up.
Right. Yeah. I had heard that, and my wife actually looked into it, and she said that she's pretty sure that is a female that just has a biological tendency to having more testosterone.
Yeah. I think they said the same thing about Brittany Griner, the WNBA basketball player.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
we traded an arms dealer for her.
Yeah. That guy, remember the movie Lord of War?
Yeah.
It was based on him.
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't a good guy.
I mean, to say he was a bad guy is putting it lightly. He's like the worst guy.
Yeah. Literally just selling guns to children at that point, I think, in Africa.
Oh, the father of death? Why not?
Yeah, yeah, we'll give him back to you. Which makes you go, why did Russia want him?
Why? Indeed. Yeah. I mean, when they take your best car salesman. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they hurt the profit margins there for a while.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry. I got a piece of ice stuck in my mouth hole. Yeah, no, it's wild. So what else?
I mean, the world is an interesting place right now.
Yeah, I mean, just in Western politics alone, like with our upcoming election.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had old that geezer for president just stepped down out of nowhere. What month? So we got how many months till the election?
Well, it's November 5th, so we're in early August here.
Yeah.
So about September, October, about 3
months.
Yeah.
Didn't even let the Democrats pick their own candidate.
No, this is who you get.
Yeah, just made them choose.
Yeah. I can't remember the last election. I thought there was something similar with that on the last one too.
Well, they pretended.
Yeah.
They at least acted like
they
were going to give them a shot or a chance to pick.
Yeah.
Because the last one you had, I remember there's Tulsi Gabbard, I think Elizabeth Warren. I don't think did Bernie run on the last one?
Yeah, I remember he had the classic picture of him sitting in the chair with the gloves.
Yeah. Disappointment encapsulated right there.
That was a meme for so long. It was the best meme. I love that one.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, I mean, we got just kind of a really unstable climate right now all around.
Yeah, so I was at Walmart today, and I think I spent like $70. I bought some Lunchables, some pop, just typical white trash food.
Yeah,
it was like $70 for like 3 bags of groceries.
Yeah,
and like, so I buy the cheap pizzas for the kids. You know,
yeah,
just
like
for
the Tony's pizzas and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. They've like doubled in price.
Yeah,
in the span of like 2 years.
Yeah, well, I know. So like, say 5 years ago, we would go to the store, and we live out in the middle of nowhere. So we go to the store like once a month and just buy everything and then come back because it's a long drive to go get a pack of chicken or something. We aren't going to do that. And the local store, the prices are always higher. So we just go drive the 45 minutes to Walmart, do that stuff there. We used to be able to go, and for about $500, I mean, we were stocked for a month easily.
Yeah.
You could go even longer than that. Now, when we would do that, you're spending $800 to $1,000 to do that, which is just outrageous.
Yeah, and I'm not a frugal spender at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And I know our weekly budget for a family of 5 is probably $200 to $300.
Yeah, that'd be about right.
And it, like, you look in our fridge, and a lot of times there's not really a lot there.
Yeah.
It's getting expensive.
Yeah, you're kind of forced to buy less snack foods, and you're just going straight for like, what do we need for breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Yeah, pretty much. Meat and potatoes.
Yeah, yeah. And then when you, like, for us, when we make our dinner, especially when it's something that the kids like, we'll make a lot more of it.
Yeah.
And then that's lunch, that's that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We try to keep fresh fruit and stuff like that, which is ridiculously expensive, but we try.
Yeah, so like I consider myself like poor-minded in the sense of like, like I'll buy groceries and be like, okay, I can make 3 meals out of this.
Right.
And we're in a climate right now with our economy that's like, even that's not self-sufficient. Like I used to buy these giant pork loins when they're on sale, cut them up, cut pork steaks, and have a roast, and grind the rest up into like pork burger.
Right.
And you could do that for $12 and have 4 to 5 meat meats on hand for meals.
Yeah.
And now those same pork loins have more than doubled in price
Yeah.
because more people, and you notice at the grocery store now that they've kind of gotten wise to that. And so they don't like to sell those whole pork loins or those big bulk sections of meat. They've reduced them down and took the butchering side on in their hands
Right.
so that you can do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on to you, Walmart.
Yeah. Was I think it's Dollar Tree. They were just so famous. Everything's a dollar. You know it's bad when it goes from everything's a dollar to everything's $1.25.
Yeah.
Because they've been $1 since we were children.
Kids.
Yeah. Yeah. A long time ago, 20 something years ago.
Yeah, you can smell a Chinesium when you walk into the store.
Yeah.
You can smell the slave labor.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
But with everything going crazy, I mean that's a big thing that people aren't really factoring in long term is that if it gets worse, and I'm kind of on the boat of no matter who wins it at this point, it's either going to get worse for a little bit longer or it's going to get worse for a lot longer.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that like every other week, they're kind of not necessarily programming us,
Yeah.
but it's like this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. We're, Russia's in war with Ukraine,
Yeah.
and we have openly helped Ukraine.
Yeah.
We have this issue with Israel right now. The politics in the U.S. are getting more divided and divided.
Yeah.
And this is all, in my opinion, somewhat calculated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of weird because every time the U.S. economy is just tanked, the first way that they try and fix it is with a new war.
Yeah.
The problem is usually it's like, okay, well, we're going to go to war with, Vietnam.
Right.
Well, Vietnam, let's be honest, was never going to attack the mainland U.S.
No, we had no business being there whatsoever.
We're going to go bomb the crap out of the desert, over in
Yeah.
Iraq and all that. Well, they didn't really have a chance.
Yeah, and that's one of the worst ones for us because that's our generation.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I can't remember the names. Is it Sean Ryan? Am I thinking right? The bald-headed guy.
Yes. Yeah.
I was listening to him,
think.
and they're basically talking about how it was pointless.
Yeah.
And you got all these guys in our age group and younger, a little older, that, they're kind of left with this emptiness feeling of like, well, outside of an income that sucks,
Yeah.
and a messed up back or whatever, mental health issues,
Yeah.
you're left with this void saying, well, why were we there?
Yeah.
It was meaningless for us.
Yeah. I always said, if like Osama bin Laden, okay, he did the World Trade Center. I can see us going, okay, well, we're going to go get this guy
Yeah.
and going to get him. But then you look at like Iraq. There was no reason for us to be there except for somebody had a beef with somebody else.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole deal with Libya and
Yeah.
destabilizing Libya.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that guy went out bad. Oof. Like we all seen that video.
Yeah.
I'm like getting sodomized with a machete.
Jeez. Yeah. I'm a pretty firm believer that we haven't had a legit war since World War II.
You're right.
Like a legitimate, like, yeah, we need to get involved in this.
A valid reason to get involved into a war.
Yeah, because I mean, if Hitler would have kept going, he would have taken over at least.
He would have took over Europe.
Right, at least Europe.
Yeah, he might have. I mean, the Russians played a huge role in stopping Germany.
Right. Yeah, he wouldn't. I don't think he would have really gotten into Russia, but I think he could have taken Africa because at the time, I mean, who was running Africa?
You're right.
It was the Europeans.
Yeah.
So once you knock them out, Africa's just a wash. You just walk in and take it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was necessary.
An interesting fact is, at the time in that era, France had one of the most respected armies.
Yeah.
considered in the world.
Yeah.
And the Germans ran right through them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like when you think about time, it would be like Russia running right through the U.S.
Right.
It was quite the deal.
Yeah.
I guess, but all of them were all high on meth, and
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my favorite one, I can't remember what country he was from, but the guy who got lost in the woods and he gave him all of the little meth tablets and he took all of them.
I don't know that story.
I'll have to look
A
it up.
German?
No, it was one of the Nordic countries. I can't remember I can't remember exactly who he was. It might have been a Russian. I have to look it up, so don't quote me on anything as far as particulars on this. But the whole group knew that this one guy didn't like the meth tablets of Pervitin.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
They knew he didn't like them, and so they gave all of their rations to him so that they wouldn't get eaten. Like they wouldn't just sit there and down them.
Oh, okay.
Well, he got separated from his unit, and I can't remember how exactly that happened, and got stuck in the middle of the snowy woods.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And so his first idea was just take all of them. And he went on like a 3-day skiing adventure through
Just
through the woods.
Just blitzed.
Yeah. And there's like and I don't know how true all the stories are as far as his encounters, but there was like one of the encounters I heard about was like he got blown up and thought he was gonna die, so he just laid there and like woke up 2 days later and got up and just kept going. He was
God.
just methed out of his mind. But that's
awesome.
Back then, it wasn't about, okay, let's figure out better technology. It was, okay, let's make a super soldier. And this meth is going to do it.
And the Nazis, that's really like when you talk about like the SS and the upper ranks, it was really kind of a race thing. They thought the Aryans were far superior, and actually one of the SS commanders was against them getting that I can't remember the name of it, but the methamphetamine, because he thought the Aryans were so much superior that they didn't need it.
Right. Yeah. They had some really, when you start looking into, because I listened to somebody the other day talk about this, and when a lot of people think of the Nazis, they think of like that because their uniforms were very like to the point. They were on, you know what I mean?
I mean, to be honest, they were fly.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. They ruined it for a lot of other people.
Like when it comes to like, now you take the whole, Nazi thing out of it.
Right.
Like if you're just looking at the uniform,
right.
There's definitely a good reason where a lot of our fashion today comes from Germany.
Right. They were stylish.
Yeah, they were very stylish.
They were terrible human beings, but they were stylish.
Yeah.
And that was like you look at them and you're like, oh man, these are like, they're put together. They're, you know what I mean? And then come to find out they were like into the occult. They were into the Aryan stuff.
Yeah.
And you start looking at it, you're like, these guys they're nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like what we have going on today in our Western society is you have a very small amount of people, controlling essentially the world or the country.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to consider. You could say they're controlling the U.S. or they're controlling the world. Who I don't know.
Like deep state type stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to remember that they don't think like us.
Mm-hmm.
They've never lived like us. They don't have, I mean, we could be basically, and people always refer to the lizard people thing.
Yeah.
Like they're aliens or subterranean beings. It's on a plain shot view, I disagree, but in a way I agree, because you take a modern Rockefeller or whatever, and you set him next to me, we're going to have nothing in common.
Yeah.
Our mannerisms, nothing.
Yeah.
We might as well be from two different planets.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get exactly what you're saying. It's one version is lizard people. The other version is they are just so far beyond the normal class the working class and all of that, that they aren't even,
Yeah,
they're not on the same
they
same
look,
playing field at
yeah,
all.
they
They're
look at us like we're inferior to them.
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Maybe that's where it came to. People didn't know how to respond to these guys that were so much more powerful than everybody else around them.
Yeah,
And
I
so
mean, it
they're like,
goes
"Oh, they
back.
got to be aliens,"
Well, it goes back to like even the Egyptians or whatever ancient
Yeah,
cultures. They looked at their pharaohs like gods.
yeah, yeah.
Or I honestly don't think the people looked at their pharaohs like gods. I think the pharaohs imposed the people to look at them like gods.
Right. Yeah. Originally, they weren't like, "Oh yeah, he's a god."
Yeah.
It was like, "You're gonna
It's
call
like,
me a god," or
whip.
right.
I'm a god.
Yeah,
Whip.
exactly.
I'm a god.
Exactly.
Whatever, dude, you're God. Stop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, there's historical evidence to show that's exactly how that happened,
Yeah.
and it's. We won't go into that historical evidence, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine. Or we can. I mean, it's just we got we have to not censor, but choose our words wisely.
Here's what I think kind of our goal with this is that we want to talk about hard topics and let people remember what it's like and joke about them a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when me and you were kids, nothing was off the table.
No.
You made a joke about it, and people were cool with it. And then the more we joked about it, the less of a major problem it was, because people were like, "Okay, well, we're beyond the point of thinking this is real. Now we just joke about it."
Yeah, like when it came to like personal conversations or like social gatherings, we'd make fun of each other, make fun of each other's, beliefs or personal opinions, because that's how we debated.
Yeah.
That's how normal people work problems out.
And we knew that none of it was malicious. It was just, we're going to joke about it. And
unless we got drunk.
Well, yeah, then somebody might try and fight somebody else. But
yeah, maybe.
Don't debate drunk. It's a bad idea. But I mean, your background was, you had more American Indian in you. I had more of an Irish side in me. And we used to give each other shit about that. That was part of the fun of it.
I also grew up in a democratic household. My grandparents were Democrats, my dad, my mom to this day, my stepfather. And, you grew up more conservative.
Yeah.
So we always had something to disagree on, but we always found middle ground with each other.
I was actually talking to my mom about that the other day with me and you. And I said, we don't always think the exact same way. We're not, we don't have the exact same thoughts on everything. And I said, but the fun part about it is neither one of us gets mad at the other one for what they think.
No.
We discuss it, we talk about it, we try and look at the other side of it, and then if we don't agree with it, then we don't agree with it. If we can see a couple things that we can agree with, then we do.
Yeah.
And our world has just become so polarized.
Yeah, it has.
And the problem is like, there was back when we were kids, there was conservative and there was Democrats, but some of the ideas, even on both sides of it, honestly, have gone so off the rails.
Yeah. So me and you were talking about the other day, and I mean, this is kind of talking about hot topics.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Obama was against gay marriage.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago.
No, I mean,
12 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like the major liberal of the time.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's completely different.
Oh yeah. It's insanity.
Yeah.
But that's how you kind of meet middle ground. That's what democracy is supposed to be, is you have two people with opposing ideas that don't look at the person, they look at the topic, and they try and work something out to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
That's what politics is supposed to be about.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's why we haven't all killed each other yet.
Yeah. And that's the concern at this point, is that it's been, and I think the big thing that we need to remember is that it's been polarized by people who
we
It's just like we were talking about.
No.
The lizard people,
Yeah.
they're not lizard people. They're just people, but
that we know of. I mean,
deep dive.
who knows? Who knows?
But
I
I'm-
wouldn't be surprised if Hillary Clinton had a tail.
Well, that's just because she's got horns to go with it.
Yeah.
That's a different subject. But it's being shoved at you by people who don't actually care about these
don't-
things they're saying.
Yeah.
They're trying to draw this giant divide between the left and the right,
Yeah.
and the black and the white, and all of these different things. They're just trying to divide you to an extent that they can take power.
Yeah, they want us to keep fighting
Yeah.
amongst each other, because if we're fighting amongst each other, we're not looking at the real problems.
Yeah. Which is them.
You know, and I'm not gonna. The Democratic nominee for president right now is Kamala Harris. She came out and said something about lowering the price of food, right? So it's like, okay, why don't you do that right now?
Yeah. It reminds me of that meme of the wolf standing up in front of all the sheep saying, "I'll turn vegan if you vote for me." Do it now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, don't use it as a tool to
Yeah.
swing a vote.
Yeah. Yeah, you already if you are the VP, you at least have the president's ear to put these things into place.
Yeah,
And you have a talking point or a platform to talk to senators and congressmen. You can go and make those changes now, but it's all about, oh, I can do this. It's quid pro quo.
yeah. You know, and it's kind of interesting, because I'm wondering if we're on the wrong side of history. You know, because about a month ago we had a president, Trump, ex-president, almost get killed.
Yeah.
And the media outlet is trying to kind of bury it. They're not saying it didn't happen, but
They did it first.
Yeah, that's true. He like slipped on a puddle or
Yeah,
something.
they said there was a loud noise and they rushed him off stage, and then they even tried to say he cut his ear with a piece of glass.
Yeah, and the far liberals were saying it was all like a plan.
Like he intentionally shot him in the ear.
Yeah, it was a staged thing, which is crazy.
From a lot of experience, that's an impossible shot.
Yeah, I don't know how you could do it. Well, people are going to think what they want to think.
Right.
And I mean, you do you. It's whatever. Just, let's live in the realm of reality sometimes.
Try the big thing, like, and that's something I even do, whether it's a conservative topic or a liberal topic. Talk to somebody who actually has experience with that subject matter. You can go online and you can see guys who are ex-military, special forces type stuff, and they try and recreate that shot
Yeah.
from that distance, and they can't do it because it's not with the gun that they're saying he used, and we kind of got an idea of what it is. They took the same type of thing, and they even swapped it out because they said, well, we don't know if it was an actual scope or if it was a red dot, so they did it with both. It doesn't matter. Both times you would have just nailed him in the head, not in the ear,
Yeah.
if you were trying to make that shot.
I mean, if you're going to do a fake shooting, you probably wouldn't physically shoot at them. You know what I mean? Like you would shoot, a few meters one way or the other.
Right.
You wouldn't try and hit his ear. For
You're
God's
not
sake.
gonna nick him.
Yeah. Anybody that's ever like hunted an animal, it's like, I know for a fact one time, like I aimed dead nuts between the eyes of a feral pig. Shot right when I shot, he flinched, and I hit him in the shoulder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy talk.
Yeah. And it's not like you're sitting on a range with a spotter and a well-built rifle
Yeah,
and you're trying to shoot very, very fine precision. When you see the gun, and from what I understand, it was a DPMS 15-year-old AR.
yeah,
That thing was wore out.
yeah. I mean,
And I mean, you could say, well, there was a second shooter. It goes into all sorts of crazy theories at that point.
well, I think we're in agreement. The shooter intended to end Trump's life,
Right.
and he survived somehow. Wasn't the Secret Service. I think it was luck or divine intervention. Something. It wasn't like there was anybody out there helping the poor guy.
DEI hire.
The guy came with a ladder, a drone, rangefinder. People are screaming in the audience. There's a shooter. Everybody just standing around. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
insanity.
Yeah.
That this is like, and that's what I mean. Are we on the wrong side of history? Because I don't know if people like us are going to win. 100 years from now, is this
Yeah.
going to be talked about?
I think morally, yes, we're on the right side.
Yeah.
I think as far as who's gonna actually be telling the history later on, we might be the guy who's talking about, oh, they used to take people into the the back alleys and give them this stuff, and it was called MK Ultra, and they would,
Yeah.
it happened. Nobody want to talk about it.
Right.
You might hear about it, like you said, and it was like JFK.
Right.
Oh no, the CIA didn't have anything to do with it. Now they've all but admitted that they basically did that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to wind up with is, it wasn't anything except for this, but
Yeah.
in 60, 70 years from now, when everybody's dead and can't sue anybody, they're like, oh no, it was us.
Yeah. No, we knew the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It was just that was a crazy scenario. I was at my in-laws' house. We were having dinner over there, and my mom texted me, and she said, they just shot Trump. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
shit. Because at that point, it's like, what's that going to create? Or do we have an Archduke Franz Ferdinand situation going on here? You know what I mean? I pulled it up, and I watched the video, and it was before they released that he was okay, but I watched it, and they slowed it down and all that, and I was able to watch it well enough to be like, okay, nicked his ear.
Yeah.
Because if it would have hit him anywhere but that ear, he would have been down.
Yeah. Yeah. He turned his head. I mean, if the guy would have shot a second earlier, we would be talking about, ex-President Trump that's dead.
Right. Yeah. That was it was a pretty amazing occurrence.
Yeah. And, it's just awful. Yeah. And that's the problem is you have media demonizing a guy like that. And, for years coming out saying he's the end of democracy, calling on this violent rhetoric.
Yeah.
And then, they want to act, they didn't even act shocked, which is kind of the sad part about it.
Yeah.
They all give this half-ass, like, well, we shouldn't do this or do that. It was all very lazily drawn out. Like all the CNN, all the people on the left, they call for this kind of action, and then they give a lame-ass apology for when something actually does happen.
Yeah. And then they just go immediately back into it.
Yeah. They just keep turning up the temperature, but there's thought and then there's action. You have to create an idea before something happens. And that's what I'm scared of is I see it on both sides. And it shouldn't be calling it sides because that I'm playing into the cards of, the people that are in power.
Yeah.
But everybody has the thought of war, end of times, some kind of horrible occurrence. And, thoughts create ideas, ideas create actions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so far from the Christian aspect of that, like, we can look and see certain things that were talked about in the Bible that you go, oh, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Yeah. So I understand that if you're a Christian though, and you're like, okay, well, we're just going to let people walk all over us. That's not what was supposed to happen in the first place. Christians have this weird idea of like, we're supposed to just 100% believe that this is it. There's been so many occasions throughout time that this is it, could have been it.
Yeah.
Hitler could have been it. I mean, you go back in time to the Romans. The Romans could have been it. The Alexander the Great could have been it. Genghis Khan could have been it. Attila the Hun could have been it. Don't sit there and say, well, we're just going to let this stuff happen. And I'm not telling you to go out and start a fight, but I am talking about look for the truth in things and look for the reality of things and try and speak out about those things. Because you don't know that this is it. I've read the book of Revelations that everybody's talking about.
Right.
I've read Daniel. I've read all of those. Yes. Could it be it? Sure. Should you be right with yourself and God for it if you're a Christian? Sure. But don't just say, okay, well, this is it, so I'm not going to try and make a difference.
Right. Don't have a kind of a grim outlook on it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. For Christians, technically, it depends on which way you stand, but like for Christians, Revelation isn't really a grim outlook for us because it's like, okay, well, we get to go home.
Well, I guess maybe that's the wrong term. It would be like, don't say, well, this is, like you were saying, this is the end.
Right.
So I'm just going to sit on my hands and wait for it.
Exactly. You should still fight for what's right. And I'm not saying fight, but I mean, whether it's speaking the truth.
Yeah, I mean, take action within the legal realm,
Right.
I mean,
do what you can do.
Yeah, we have freedom of speech, freedom to protest.
Right. Damn it, Jones.
Yeah, I screwed up. I went on a rant I shouldn't have, and so our audio is going to be a little screwy.
You had one job. One job. Just one.
No,
Not talk about things like that.
I've never been good at keeping jobs, Alan.
Well, for YouTube's sake, we're going to take you out back. We're going to beat you with a rubber hose. We're going to hang you up by your feet, spread some honey on you, let the bugs have you, make you listen to a long, long Taylor Swift CD.
I accept my punishment and my pleasures. I would like to regretfully decline the Taylor Swift, though.
That is the worst part of it. I will have to check with the guiding council of the YouTube gods and see if that's acceptable or not.
I understand. I'll try not to let it happen again, guys. Alan's got some serious punishments for me, apparently.
I do.
Maybe a little homoerotic, but who knows?
Shh. In all honesty, guys, we appreciate you listening this long, especially with the weird audio.
Yeah.
We're going to try and jump back into where you can hear it again. At some point in time, we'll get something up so that you guys can listen to the whole thing on another platform. But until then, this is what you got.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, guys.
Back to it. To the whole, if this get me and this guy sitting in a room together, the difference between us. He doesn't think of you as a person. He thinks of you as a profit margin.
Yeah. Yeah, we're cattle.
Yeah.
And, like when you talk about the budget, like the country's budget, where that is based off of, it's based off money they're pulling out of our Social Security, the money, our tax dollars are supposed to take care of us when we're older. So when you hear about the $1 trillion budget, it's money they have stolen from us to spend. So when you think about them spending $40 billion in Ukraine, they're spending $40 billion in your Social Security money.
Right. Yeah.
That's money that you've paid into for when you're old and sick that they've taken from you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, me and you, we're in our mid-30s. We will never see Social Security.
No.
We're going to have paid in for it for our entire lives. And we won't see a penny out of that because it's going to be spent.
Yeah, because, we got to spend, billions of dollars on funding a war that really isn't going to affect me and you.
And it's really a war of that was our money laundering country.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they were afraid of, is that people were going to find out about it. Just like they were afraid that they found out about the lab, and we did find out about that. No, they had one in Ukraine.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, we weren't doing that there. We weren't doing it. And then they invaded there, and the Russians were like, "No, it's right here." And then they had a little meeting. They're like, "Okay, well, we were there."
We were, but we forgot.
Yeah, we forgot about those guys.
Yeah.
And it's literally Ukraine was
It's
just
like some crate, like what was that, Austin Powers? It's like that yelling lady. It's like, open the border.
it's exactly what it is too. Release the spy balloons.
Yeah, exactly.
With that, and you knew that was a bunch of crap. They let this thing float across the entire United States, and they're like, "Oh, well, it got out over the Atlantic Ocean, and we shot it down. It was too late."
Yeah.
That was probably from you guys, anyways.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. They throw these distractions out there. Yeah, look at
Yeah.
this, and then while you're doing that, we're gonna come over here and do something that's really bad, but you aren't gonna notice it because we're gonna, we control the media.
And and that's the thing too, is like our generation, we don't really watch, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. And you're foolish to think like and I'm talking to my generation, a little older generation, the younger generation, you're foolish to think that they don't have it in their minds that the next step is the internet.
Yeah.
Google, all of it.
Yeah. Well, Google's already. You try and search something on Google, and it's not going to tell you what you're looking for.
Yeah, if you want a fun one, you know how like you type something in and it gives you your search query or whatever, licking toes, whatever. Type in president space D, see what comes up.
What is it?
It's Donald. I think it's Donald Duck and Reagan.
Are you serious? Wow. And I know, so I started using DuckDuckGo
Yeah,
for a while, but then I think they somehow got taken over by Google.
probably.
And so it does the same thing. And now it's hard to find that stuff now. You got to seek out a search engine to find this stuff, or you got to go to like the 5th page of the search results to try and find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And nobody does that. They go to the first page, they look down, they read about something from MSN, and then they move on.
Which that is one nice thing is, these people are so prideful and think they're so perfect that we just that generationally outpace them so fast that it's like, okay, we're going to take control of Google. And like, they don't understand that 2 years before that, everybody's on Facebook and TikTok and everything else. And then it's like, okay, let's get TikTok. And it's like, oh, well, there's this actually now. So
yeah.
they're like, crap.
Yeah. Yeah, they were mad about TikTok.
Yeah. They're all sitting there on their Cricket smartphones.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Well, and I mean, it's the same thing. They didn't know anything about how TikTok worked, but the people that were telling them you don't need to vote for this is because they knew what TikTok actually was. And TikTok, you got varying types of TikTok.
Right.
Because it goes off of your algorithm. If you open it up and you're always seeing the Insta hose, that's because that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If you're opening it up and seeing
people get blown up by drones,
that's because that's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea behind that is that you can use that as an outlet to get real information out, or at least ideas that people can try and look into. And they knew that, and they didn't want it. So they were trying to shut it down.
Which it's wild too is Meta helped lobby that whole thing if you look into it.
Yeah.
Which and I think Meta Instagram is tied to Facebook. So it's kind of ruling out the competition.
Yeah.
And using the government, kind of government as a weapon to kill your competition.
Yeah.
Which is nothing new.
And the government was using them to kill their competition.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all mixed in there. It's all just a big, my favorite quote is George Carlin.
Yeah.
It's a big club and you ain't in it.
Yeah, no. And I mean, politics are politics.
Yeah.
Ideas and values are really all that matter. That's where it starts is like, what is your value system and what do you want from your country if you're going to have to pay tax dollars,
Yeah.
which taxes are BS anyways.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. We fought a government that was way more powerful than us for a very slight tax increase in the grand scheme of things. And now when you look at what you get taxed on, you get taxed because you work.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a colorful one that we really shouldn't go into, but outside of slavery, the Civil War had a lot to do with taxes.
It is actually true. I mean, when you read the records of it, and 100% that shit should have ended. That was not cool.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that. We'll preface it with that.
Yeah.
Slavery is a horrible thing. It should never happen. But what happened is Abraham Lincoln basically was trying to rally the North who were against slavery. And so at the last minute, he said, well, we can use this as a preface to do all of this along with it.
Right.
Have large federal government, but we'll do it under the guise of ending slavery.
Yeah.
And like I said, 100% that should have ended. But the stuff that came with it, when you start looking at it, you're going, geez. And I mean, Abraham Lincoln, his whole idea was to put all the slaves back on a boat and send them back to Africa. It wasn't to keep them here.
No,
that was his original idea, which is a little ridiculous too.
It's just government using people
right
to get what they want.
Yeah. And once I start doing my own research and stuff, you can sympathize with a lot of black voters and stuff because they've been trashed by the government a lot.
Yeah, they were a big part of, like we were talking about earlier, with the
well, and part of that was because of the history that a lot of people don't know about was the Tuskegee experiments.
I know a little bit about it. I don't know a whole lot.
It's basically where they were. There's some question on whether or not they were infecting them or if they just weren't treating them. But they said that they inadvertently spread syphilis because they told them that they were treating them for it. And in reality, they were just monitoring how it progressed.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, and they were giving them these shots of other stuff, and some of it was basically injecting them with syphilis, and they were telling them, "Oh yeah, you're better now." So they were going out and they were doing what people do, and infecting more of the population, and so it was just this massive thing that happened. And so they don't trust when they're like, "Oh yeah, take this shot." A lot of them were like, "Yeah, we remember that."
It's kind of like
doing that.
The crack epidemic.
Yeah, exactly. That was, and then they had the guy that came out and basically said, "No, this was this part of the government doing this," and then they killed him. Yeah, that was all created by our government.
Yeah, they were using crack to fund some war or something like that, the drug money off of it.
Yeah. I think the big point is that it doesn't matter what type of government you have. If you live like we have, and we talk about the 90s and the 80s and the early 2000s, and they were fun. They were great for us. We have great memories about them. But there was this thing back then, and it was you don't talk about politics amongst people.
Yeah, it was a respect thing.
But the problem is I'm and I don't have any proof to back this up, but I almost feel like that was one of those ploys to get people not to talk about
a massive psyop. I mean, it makes sense because the boomer generation, kind of screwed us pretty hard.
Yeah.
And that was their thing. You don't talk about politics.
Yeah. And what do we have for it? Our entire country's in shambles, but it's because nobody talked about any of the issues for the last 60 years. I mean, and if you did talk about some of this stuff, you would kind of get excommunicated from your friend group, or you would think you were crazy, or I think that may have been a factor in it, though, is that they were like, oh, hey, if we tell them that it's impolite to talk about these things in public, then they won't talk about them.
Yeah, you were shunned.
Right. And then nobody's actually going to be looking at stuff anymore or having civil discussions to get past things.
And in the defense of the boomers, it worked for them up until, about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It worked. And then, they were kind of getting patted on the head while, while they were getting robbed and their kids were getting robbed.
Yeah.
A little, just by inches, a little less freedom, a little more money, a little less freedom, a little more money.
Yeah.
Until we're in the state we are today.
Yeah.
And it speaks volumes that, the majority of our government's in their 70s and 80s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they don't even know what's going on half the time.
No, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like this older generation is still essentially in power and will not let go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't there one of the senators or something that was like so out of it at this point that they were basically proxy voting for her?
Yeah, it was Finkelstein or Feinstein.
Feinstein, yeah.
Yeah, she was like literally wheeled around in a chair.
Yeah.
And she looked dead.
Eyes, and they go over there, and it was Weekend at Bernie's is what it was.
Pretty much. Yeah, it sounds like a president.
Yeah, with you, that I'm pretty sure that was going on too.
Yeah.
But, I think that some of the concern was, if they were to say, okay, Biden has lost his faculties, and we need to go ahead and remove him because he's not capable of the job anymore, then they're going to put Kamala in there. Well, the next person in line is the Speaker of the House.
Right.
Kamala's a safety net.
Yeah.
Because if they come after her and they go, okay, and you can look up some of the stuff that they're accusing her of, and if half of it's true, it's impeachable.
Yeah. The way I think about this is you had Biden. Biden, hands down, in my opinion, is the worst president in modern history.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that old thing, you take somebody and you beat the hell out of them. And, then you turn around and you dress their wounds.
Right.
You put people in a mindset that's so terrible, and then you give them something that's just a little bit better.
Yeah. A glimpse of hope.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not a good one either. Just
No.
a glimpse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like the gas prices right now.
Right.
We're coming up to the election. Everybody knows why our gas is through the roof.
Yeah.
But when you go to the pump, I went to the pump the other day and I was like, oh man, gas has dropped by like 50 cents or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know what you're doing. I see through you.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing has been done to fix that problem.
Yeah. It's like, come on, little buddy.
Right. Yeah. It's leading a cow to the slaughter with a carrot. Like,
Right.
oh no, hey, see it? It's nice.
You like sugar cubes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's true, and it's terrible. And I think that's another thing is the more that you start looking into this stuff, and the more you start realizing, the more you're just like, I see you, I know what you're doing,
Yeah.
but there's no. I mean, what are you gonna do about it? You can get enough people and maybe start protesting and start using your First Amendment and all that stuff.
Well, I would say, do what we're doing, and vote,
Yeah,
vote for the things, talk about the things you like and don't like.
yeah,
And I think right now we're in such an important time because you have somebody like Trump, you have somebody like RFK, you had a guy like Vivek Ramsey.
yeah,
You have all these people that are not independent, but they're definitely independent thinkers.
yeah. I think that's the big thing is there's a lot more going on than your straight
Yeah.
liberal conservative sides are saying. There's stuff in between, and if you aren't paying attention to it, you're not
Well, and we're getting away from these career politicians.
yeah.
You talk about like Pelosi, Biden,
Yeah,
Clinton,
yeah.
Bush.
And I mean, we can go on the other side too. Those are a lot. Well, Bush is Republican, but
Yeah.
you've got Romney. You've got, there's
all these people have been doing it since the 70s.
the people that are in your party out of all of the people, there might be 2 or 3
Yeah.
in that party that's actually at least believes what they say they believe.
Right.
The rest of them are there for the bigger picture of their larger
Yeah. Yeah.
organization.
They're boosting up their stock portfolio.
Yeah.
It's a career.
I said, what was it? I said about 2 months ago. I said, invest in Lockheed.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And if you looked at the stock market that tanked last week, everything is just barreling down, except for Lockheed. It went up by 24%
oh, I'm sure.
because everybody's about to go bomb somebody,
Yeah.
you know? And it's, let's go send our children over there for cannon fodder so that these guys can make more money.
Well, and that's something else, we have to think about as a society is, I have a 401k. Where do you think they're, putting my money in my 401k at?
Yeah, it's stock market.
Yeah, in the stock market and Lockheed. And all.
You better hope it is for your 401k.
Well, no, I know it is.
Yeah, just pay attention to Nancy Pelosi and where her stocks are going. You'll do great.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've been rambling for about an hour.
Yeah. Well, maybe next week, since we kind of talked a little doom and gloom this week, maybe next week we can get into things that you can kind of do to help yourself get to a place where you might be okay if something bad does happen. 'Cause
Yeah,
it seems like
definitely.
it's going that way. Seems like we might need to be a little ready for ourselves so we can talk about some of that.
Yeah, we'll have some fun while the world ends, guys.
Just ride that atomic bomb with the cowboy hat, man.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, y'all have a good day.